All right, welcome everyone to the board meeting, August 5th, 2026 for the IDA. Let's start off with a roll call. Let's see here. Honorable Dennis. Here. Marlene.
Present.
Bill.
Present.
Anton. He's excused. I don't believe he's going to be attending. Paul is not present, and the Honorable Wanda Willingham is not present, but we do have a quorum. So let's get to it. First item here is a review of the minutes of July 21st. If everyone's had an opportunity to read them, can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So be it. So moved. CFO report. Amy.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. In your packets on pages 5 through 9, you'll find the June 2026 financials. So briefly go over the statement of financial position on page 7. Cash currently is at $4.4 million. Of that, there's $1.5 million invested in T-bills, which mature at the end of the year, December 24th, at a rate of 3.81%. The only liabilities currently were accrued liabilities of $27,000, which was the June payment to the Alliance that didn't go out until the beginning of July. And I'll move on to page 9, the budget versus actuals. Year-to-date revenue is $38,000. That is comprised of fees collected in $95,000 and interest in the amount of $28,000 versus a budget amount of $452,000. The difference there lies, we had budgeted $260,000 of a federal grant, which would be used to offset the Altech Steel expenses, which have not occurred yet. Moving down to expenses, year-to-date are $200,000 versus a budgeted amount of $697,000. Again, that difference basically lies in the Altech steel site expenses that we have not incurred yet.
But we're still looking to get that grant, correct?
Right, it's a 2-to-1. Yep.
Yeah, we have them, we've been awarded.
Right.
The grant is $500,000.
Correct. Yep. So in all, we are at a loss of $162,000 versus a budgeted loss of $244,000. That's it for me.
Questions, Brian? Okay, we got a motion to approve of the financials.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
CPO report. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. We'll try to keep this very succinct. Want to give you back as much of your evening as we can. Really, the only update that I'd like to provide today is that on Altech Steel, there have been some developments on that front on the Altech Steel site and our redevelopment of that. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Senior VP for Real Estate, Jeremy Smith.
Jeremy?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Steve Bovair from McFarland Johnson is also on the line. He can give a technical update and answer any technical questions you have. But just a few weeks ago, if you'll remember, the board approved a lead agency for the IDA to be the lead agency at the Altech site. That triggered the next steps. And at this point, we have made contact with the planning department and planning boards in the town of Colony to start the next steps of the process. So it's only been 2 weeks, so that's the update. But Steve, if you have any technical updates or if there's any technical questions for Steve, he's on.
Good afternoon. Real quick, just to remind the board that as taking on lead agent, you have a responsibility to make a determination of environmental significance. And in doing so, you have proactively decided to prepare a draft generic environmental impact statement. And that statement is basically a very detailed report of all the potential environmental impacts and associated technical studies. Our team is quarterbacking those studies and the support of Kevin's advisory team and Jeremy. We are in the process of kicking off that process, which is a scoping document. The scoping document basically is a table of contents of what's going to go into the report. That scoping document does need public input. And as Jeremy mentioned, we've reached out to the town as being a critical partner in this process. and we plan on meeting with them to give them an overview of the project in the next 3 to 4 weeks. From which, after that, there will be a public hearing on the scoping document in which we will gain public input on what outstanding potential environmental impact statements that need to be addressed. We'll be in contact with you as the formal request for a public hearing will have to come through this board. But then after that, we'll be preparing the report. We had some really good meetings with the DEC to revise our wetland boundary in favor of the project. So we're waiting to get an official response from the DEC agreeing with our revised wetland boundary, which would be very favorable for the project. And hopefully I'll be able to report on how we do on that next month.
Great.
Any questions for me?
Thanks, Steve. Nice job.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Steve? Thank you. Thanks for your time.
So again, this is probably the single, best industrial site we have in the county right now. Had some challenges in the Superfund site, but the cooperation, as Steve mentioned, from the Department of Environmental Conservation has been fantastic. They want to get this thing back into productive use as much as we do. And, they've been a great partner in redeveloping. Jeremy, what's the estimate on final completion of the GEIS?
Well, the GEIS itself will go through the process of these public hearings, but around year end, we would have a potential completion of the GEIS, as long as everything goes according.
So, sometime thereabout, we're going to start actively marketing the site, for development, given the power infrastructure, water, sewer, rail that we have there. We think this is going to be a good site. And, certainly the role that the IDA is playing as the property owner and developer is extremely important.
Okay.
Any questions or comments on the Altech Steel site? Okay.
Great, thank you, Kevin. I think next we have is a public comment. So I guess before we start, we have a guest.
Nick Letterman.
Hello, Nick. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping by here. Anything you'd like to add here in a public comment section before we get into our applications?
No, sir, I'm here to answer any questions.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else on the line here? Public comment?
Nobody on the chat.
Okay. Next is let's see, our number 6, Kevin Catalano, applications for consideration.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight we're here to review a resolution for a project down at the Queens Recycling, DBA Queens Industrial Park. It is for a 75,000 square foot facility that would house a logistics company, A Projects, that focuses on large, complicated logistics. So we're not bringing in, widgets or small little pieces of equipment. We are talking large, very heavy, very complex, very expensive pieces of equipment and machinery that they bring into the Port of Queens and either deliver locally or are produced locally, brought down to the Port of Queens and shipped out worldwide. So that is the project. What the IDA board is tasked with tonight is determining if the financial incentives for that package, for that project that's what you would be approving, is the financial packages. We did have a public hearing on June 26th, so there was some good comments both for and against the project. Some very sound comments both for and against. Some were not applicable to our role in the project. A lot of people thought that the IDA was actually approving this 75,000 square foot building. We are not. That was all approved by the town of Queens back in 2020. And we are not approving a project at the Port of Queens. We are just, the board is tasked with approving financial incentives to make that project happen at the Port of Queens. Or at the Queens Industrial Park. We also had some folks that spoke very eloquently about their job and how the park was provided a beautiful career for them and their family. So A Projects who will be using the 75,000 square foot facility, has set up their home office in the former Carver companies as they moved up to corporate circle. A Projects moved into their space, bringing in 19, again, very technical, I don't want to say highly skilled, but technical expertise in moving logistics around the country and around the world, all through the port of Queens and the Queens Industrial Park. So, overall, I think Nadine and I had did very well at the public hearing. For your review, if you'd like, we have copies of the transcript of the public hearing, and we also have copies of all the letters of support or against the project for your review. But what we're looking to do tonight is approve a resolution for seeker. The Albany County IDA is not lead agent. We are using the seeker that was determined at the project approval back in April of 2020. So we are taking their documentation. We see no reason why those would be wrong. So we are taking them. They were the lead agent, and those are what we would be approving is their seeker determination back in 2020. And then the second resolution would be to approve the financial incentives provided to Queens Industrial Park, which will be used to benefit A Projects, which will be the tenant. One of the feedback, and I think this is an important thing to understand, is that, a couple comments were about the pilot agreement. After the public hearing, I came back, I spoke with Kevin O'Connor. Kevin O'Connor and I reached out to Mike. We also reached out to our board chair. We also reached out to Nick Laraway at Carver Companies. And we actually modified the pilot to be better for the taxing jurisdictions by a sum of about $80,000 over the 10-year period. So we are in accordance with our current UTEP, so no deviation letters need to be sent out to the taxing jurisdictions. So, and then based on the feedback, we came back and we modified it to be better for the taxing jurisdictions. And that was Nick and the Carver Companies was comfortable with that. So, we listened to the feedback and we did the right thing. So I would now turn it over to Shannon, unless anybody has any specific questions about the public hearing, but, Shannon can go over the resolutions of what you are tasked with approving this evening.
First question, you're okay with using the town as the lead agency in their seeker review, right?
Correct, that's
all.
standard procedure.
So, yeah, okay, good. It seems like, if we can just go to a couple, just want to be sure we're using the right numbers. I always like to go to the one sheet that Anton, who isn't here tonight, always likes, page 46. It just shows, the project as is, project with IDA, project without, and I just want to sort of get on record, the current, what I'll call the net new funds, for the project, would be, it's not listed here, but $319,986, which would be the difference between what is a standalone project without anything and the project with IDA assistance. So it's certainly accretive to the area and to the taxing authorities.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then the tax benefit would be $390,000, assuming they had to move forward without our assistance. Correct?
Yes.
So that's the benefit to the organization.
Yes, but but Mike, as you look, Chair, as you look at it, we are now paying significantly more to the taxing jurisdictions than the company is saving.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's great, So, and then on page 15, I think the overall package is the sales tax, $237,000, the mortgage recording tax, and then when you layer in the 390, you're somewhere, around 700,000 of total economic benefit.
Yes, sir.
Am I reading that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And Chair, if I may, we did have the economic impact statement. And if you remember from the last meeting, it is estimated by Camoin Associates that the economic impact of this project going into the Queens Industrial Park will exceed $9 million annually. A lot of that is the salaries and benefits paid to the employees, that it becomes a multiplier out in the community. So for $700,000, we are getting $9 million annually in economic benefit.
And the new jobs, it looks like on page 47, those are nice paying jobs. 100,000, roughly on average. So those are just some of my comments, but, we'll open it up to any other questions before we turn it over to Shannon.
Kevin, I had a question. You mentioned there were letters of support and letters of concern in this packet. I only see letters of support.
Then those are the letters that we received.
Okay. And the transcript is here.
Yes.
With people's concerns.
Yes.
What were the concerns that you heard?
There were three main concerns that I heard, and I think Nadine, who was the attorney present, would also feel is the project itself. So unfortunately, there was misinformation that the Albany County IDA was approving a project at the Queens Industrial Site, which we explained we're not.
Right.
The other one was the pilot, which, when we came back after it, I immediately went to Kevin O'Connor, who I report to. We spoke with Mike, and we increased the pilot to be consistent with our UTEP. The last one was the truck traffic. And as Kevin has spoke on many occasions, we were tasked by the county executive, the Alliance, to do a truck traffic study down in that area for the residents. He heard their concerns, and we have done that. We've used Bowler and Creighton Manning. I don't know, I'm not involved with the truck traffic, so I can't speak to when it will be ready, but those were the three biggest concerns, and I feel that the Alliance and the Albany County IDA has addressed all those in the proper way. But
So
that's for you to determine.
Just to add one thing, prior to the public hearing, given that the company we own was founded as Queens Recycling Center, there was a lot of misinformation on Facebook and on the web that it was some sort of recycling project. The Clean Air Coalition came out with video cameras to try and capture what Carver was doing in terms of recycling. There's absolutely no recycling associated with this project. There's manufactured goods coming into the project and leaving by boat, or coming in by boat or barge and leaving by road. So I think within the first 10 minutes of myself and members of A Projects explaining what their business does, probably 80% of the air was cleared, and then there was certainly miscellaneous comments about the project. But most of it was related to just some misinformation that was online prior to the public hearing.
Okay. I see in this letter from Kevin regarding the truck traffic that, I have to see where I saw it before, that it would increase large truck traffic by about 3 trucks a day.
Yep, so currently the project is in about 100,000 square feet of other buildings, and they bring somewhere between 2 and 5 loads a day. So
Okay.
when we apply that forward on another, it's de minimis in terms of the
Gotcha.
overall truck traffic.
Okay.
here.
And Marlene, somebody at their, an employee of Carver Company spoke about, this isn't another salt shed. And that's where a lot of the truck traffic comes from. So
Gotcha.
this actually, what Carver was approved to use it for, it could have been that, which is very heavy salt trucks
Right.
coming in through winter and fall.
Okay.
This actually, believe it or not, this 75,000 square foot project will slightly reduce truck traffic. Or potentially reduce truck traffic as to what the option could have been.
Sure. Could have been. Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? Phil?
So there's nothing different about this application than the last time we met, the same
No.
application,
Same.
same process, just
Yes.
moving it along further down the line.
That is correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good. Okay, what do we have?
Thank you, Chair. So, Kevin covered it pretty thoroughly. I don't have anything to add. The seeker resolution and the approval resolution of the IDA are both standard. You would just need to take a motion in a second and a roll call vote on each of them. And this would be, from my understanding, the final step for the IDA, and Nadine and Kevin would work on negotiating documents and getting this ready to close.
Very good. So we're going to be acting then to approve A, which is the seeker for the A projects at the Queens. So can we get a motion then to approve A, the approval of the seeker?
Well,
Second. Yeah, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Second, what do we have, approval, you want to talk about that one, Shannon?
Sure, so, same concept, like I said, it's a standard approval resolution of the IDA, so The prerequisites that Kevin covered, which you've already completed, are you've scheduled and held the public hearing, you've adopted a seeker resolution. The approving resolution walks through the benefits to be granted by the IDA, the information that was covered in the application, and there's criteria on the back that follow your policies, which indicate, the positives and negatives of why this project should or should not receive financial assistance. We don't advise you either way on that front, but all of your administrative requirements are covered. So as long as the board is comfortable, then you can approve the project.
Very good. Thank you. So can we get a motion then to
So
approve
we
these?
just maybe run through one more time, what are the project benefits?
Sure,
Absolutely.
if you'd like. New York State Sales and Compensating Use Tax, they're estimating, or they're requesting a savings of $237,225.
Page 15, though.
The mortgage tax would be $75,000. And the real property tax exemption, the pilot, would save them approximately $390,254.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bill? Very good. Any other questions? Okay, can we get a motion then to approve Part B here? Motion. Can we get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you all for the
Nick,
continued
you're
support.
all set.
We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, and thanks for, putting in activity, to create some jobs here in the county. Thank you.
We look forward to it. Thank you.
Executive session next. I don't think there's any reason that we need to go into executive session. Any other items from board members you'd like to discuss? Okay, then, can I get a motion then to adjourn the meeting?
I just had to ask the administrative team, I wasn't at the last meeting, could I get a copy of the economic impact study for the A projects? Thank you very much.
Okay, can we get a motion then to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Pages, sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Well done.